Hello everyone, the year is coming to an end, so I thought I would share with you some fun facts about the 3-card blind format in 2023 as we enter the year of 2024. In 2023, 300 unique players participated in the main event as part of this community. Across all of those 300 players, there were a total of 15,752 games played. And within those games played, there were 13,823 unique matches. So to clarify here, a unique match is Deck A on the play versus Deck B on the draw, regardless of which players were piloting those decks. If we were to make the assumption that it takes roughly 1 minute to calculate the outcome of any given match, that would come out to 230.38 hours spent, or 9.6 days. For that reason, I do want to take a minute to pause here and say thank you so much to our game gurus for generously spending their own time to make this community possible and to allow the format to exist in the way it does today. With that out of the way, let's dive into taking a look at what some of those matches looked like. There were 451 distinct cards played in 2023. The 5 most popular cards were Black Lotus, City of Traders, Karakas, Mishra's Workshop, and Chancellor of the Forge. At the time of recording this video, Black Lotus, City of Traders, and Mishra's Workshop are still on the banned list, so it is impressive that these cards managed to claim some of the most popular slots, despite only being legal for a portion of the year. I think it's also important to notice here that of these 5 cards, only 3 of them managed to pull an average score of above 50%. I think the takeaway here might be that popularity is not necessarily an indicator of power within the 3-card blind format. A more reasonable hypothesis might be that the popularity of a card is driven by how useful it is across a number of different strategies. Next, let's take a look at the 5 cards that had the highest average score within 2023, and those were Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, From Under the Floorboards, Blinkmoth Nexus, and Golgari Rot Farm. Something that all of these 5 cards have in common is that the sample size that is driving their score is extremely small. Each of these 5 cards were only ever featured within one deck list and never saw play outside of the single month that they performed extremely well in. The one outlier here, of course, is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, who was only legal for an extremely brief window of time. I think that if Jace, Wielder of Mysteries had been legal for another month or 2 beyond what it was, we would have seen its popularity be quite a bit higher, and we probably would have seen its win rate come down a little bit as players began to include strategies to counter Jace specifically. Next, let's take a look at some deck lists. There were 489 unique decks played in 2023. The 5 most popular deck lists were Blazing Rootwall Burning Inquiry Mountain, Lupine Prototype Mishra's Workshop Trinisphere, Black Lotus Gideon of the Trials Pact of Negation, Chancellor of the Forge Foil Island, and Sen's Tactician Karakas Leyline of Singularity. Unlike when we looked at individual cards, here we can see that all 5 of the most popular decks had an average score that was considerably above 50%. As a matter of fact, Chancellor of the Forge Foil Island and Sen's Tactician Karakas Leyline of Singularity are not only 2 of the most popular decks in the format, but they have never been affected by a ban and have a very strong win rate. Those 2 decks in particular seem like a great place to have your eyes moving into 2024. Now let's take a look at the highest win rate decks within 2023, and those decks were Boseiju Who Endures, Hickory Woodlot Mayor of Avabruck, Black Lotus City of Traders Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, Chancellor of the Annex Acacian Store Strip Mine, Gisa's Bidding Kozilek Butcher of Truth Lion's Eye Diamond, and Dryad Arbor Lion's Eye Diamond Shadowgrange Archfiend. Since we already covered the highest win rate cards, you'll probably recognize some familiar faces here, being Jace, Wielder of Mysteries and Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. The 2 decks that included these cards are what drove the win rate of those individual cards to be so high. Something else you might be noticing if you've been part of the format for a while now is that a huge number of banned cards are included in these 5 decks. None of these 5 decks are currently legal, and several of them are affected by multiple bans. For example, the Black Lotus City of Traders Jace, Wielder of Mysteries deck, all 3 of its cards are currently on the ban list. Because each of these decks are banned, I will throw you one more deck list here, which is the highest win rate deck that hasn't been affected by a ban, which is Hollow Trees, Nullhide Ferox, and the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. If this deck list looks a little funny to you as to why it has such a high win rate, I will pull back the veil here and confess that this deck list is actually one that I submitted back when I was participating in the tournament and before it had been opened up to the public. There were an extremely small number of participants because they were all close friends of mine, so this deck list's high win rate might be more of a representation of it being part of an extremely small and skewed sample size. With that, I'd like to say Happy New Year to all of you and thank you so much for supporting the format as it continues to grow and grow. A goal I have for this community within 2024 is to increase the number of players participating on a monthly basis in the main event tournament. So for that reason, I do want to remind everyone that the main event tournament is running right now. You can participate by going to the website and submitting a deck under the Participate tab. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you soon.